Last year, when all my friends were home from college for the summer, we decided to party as much as we could. Most nights we just hit up the local bars until they closed. But one weekend, my parents were out of town. Instead of staying out until 2 or 3 a.m., I suggested we go back to my place and continue the party. Everyone loved the idea. I told everyone they could drink as much as they wanted as long as they crashed at my place. We went back around 11:30 that night. My parents have a huge house, and the closest neighbors are at the end of the street. So we could be as loud as we wanted. I started looking around at all the people and noticed several I didn't recognize. When I asked one of my friends who they were, I got the generic "friend of a friend" response. At first, it didn't seem weird. Most of the strangers were surrounded by people I did recognize. At 2 a.m., a bunch of people jumped into the pool. I was sitting on the deck with my girlfriend, just talking. While I was listening to her, I noticed a strange guy standing in the living room, looking out the window at the pool. He had a red cup in his hand, but something about him was off. He looked older than us. Not old man old, but definitely older than his early 20s. My girlfriend could tell I was distracted and asked what was wrong. I asked if she knew who he was. She didn't. We both agreed something about him seemed off. I found my friend Shane and asked about the weird guy. He didn't know who he was either. He thought the guy came in with Dustin's cousin. But Dustin and his cousin had already left. I figured that was just my luck. I decided to confront the strange man myself. I asked him what his name was. He just stared at me with a blank expression. It was like I'd asked him an impossible question. Then he started making this weird humming sound. I thought he was just too drunk. I took his cup and told him to sit on the couch. He just stared ahead. I went back to my friends and said I was going to hurt Dustin tomorrow for leaving this strange guy at my house. I tried calling and texting Dustin, but he didn't answer. Over the next couple of hours, people partied, but the strange man just sat on the couch, staring at nothing. By 4 a.m., almost everyone was asleep. My girlfriend had gone to bed. When I went into the living room, the strange guy was gone. One of my friends who was still awake said he saw him leave about 20 minutes ago. I was relieved he was gone, even if I was worried about his condition. I got into bed next to my girlfriend and fell asleep instantly. But then I had that strange sensation when you're sleeping and you feel like someone is watching you. I sat up quickly. I saw someone leaving my room. I thought it was my girlfriend going to the bathroom until I saw her still asleep next to me. I jumped out of bed, terrified and confused. I went downstairs and could hear a weird noise. It sounded like someone was digging through a drawer. I passed through the living room where my friends were still asleep. Nobody was in the kitchen. But I saw light coming from my dad's office down the hall. I snuck down the hall and hid behind a giant plant. In my dad's office was the strange guy, rummaging through all the desk drawers. He still had that same expressionless look on his face. I was terrified. I didn't want him to see me, so I snuck back down the hall. Before I could make it to the stairs, I heard him coming. I grabbed a blanket from one of my sleeping friends and dove onto the floor, pretending to be asleep. I heard him walk into the living room. He just stood there. I could hear him breathing. It felt like an eternity. After about 5 minutes, he went into the kitchen. I could hear him going through drawers. Then he came back. It sounded like he was stomping in my direction. I felt useless. He was practically standing over me. Then he grabbed the sliding door right next to me and walked outside. I waited 15 minutes, then locked both doors. I checked the office and kitchen. Nothing seemed stolen. Until I noticed one of the knives from my dad's knife set was missing. I looked everywhere but couldn't find it. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next morning, nobody knew who he was. Not even Dustin. He just showed up. He took the knife. I have no idea why. Several years back, one of my best friends, Riley, worked here in town as a location manager or location producer. He'd scout local areas for directors shooting movies here. Our small town was trying to entice filmmakers to come shoot here for cheap. It was a decent gig. Some no-name director wanted to shoot a horror movie here. The area looked like every location from every Stephen King novel. Riley showed him around, including one house that, according to local lore, was supposed to be cursed or haunted. Nobody really believed it, but it was a fun campfire tale. The director became obsessed with this house. He practically insisted on filming some of his scenes there. Riley wasn't as much of a skeptic as the rest of us. He was uneasy about trying to get access, but ultimately, he didn't want to let the director down. Riley tracked down the owner, some creepy old guy who smelled like death. According to Riley, the guy gave him a really bad feeling. But surprisingly, he agreed to let them use the house with almost no fight. The director was pumped. They continued with pre-production. That night, some locals working on the film decided to take Riley out to celebrate. He didn't want to go alone, so he dragged me with him. Those film crew people sure knew how to party. We started hopping from bar to bar, feeling good. There was a woman there with us, Jade. I don't know if she was a producer or what, but she was working on the film. I was starting to vibe with her. A little after 1 a.m., Jade suggested we go check out the allegedly haunted house. Riley shot it down immediately. I was trying to impress Jade, so I teamed up with her and got the group on board. Riley finally caved. Jade said we'd have the perfect excuse if we got caught. We could say we were doing pre-production work at night. It sounded great to me, but Riley was worried we'd lose permission to use the house. The drive to the house was tense. When we got there, I came to my senses for a moment and tried to get everyone to reconsider. Jade called me a coward in a flirtatious way, and my efforts evaporated. One of the guys tried the door. It was unlocked. The 6 of us walked in quietly. It was extremely cold inside. The front door led to an empty living room. We were all standing there, using our phones as flashlights, when we heard movement from upstairs. Unmistakable footsteps. Clearly pattering from one side of the room to the other. We all stood completely still. Jade insisted we check it out. Riley put his foot down and said he was leaving. The other guys didn't want any part of it either. They all went outside. But I couldn't let Jade go upstairs alone. We quietly crept up the stairs. Right next to the stairs was a door. I tried to open it. It was locked. We went upstairs. The footsteps had stopped. It was eerily quiet. Jade shouted into the darkness if anybody was there. No response. We looked in all the rooms. Nobody was there. We started going downstairs. And then we saw it. The door that had been locked was now wide open. It led to a pitch-black basement. Jade looked terrified for the first time. But I thought it was a practical joke. I was being ignorant. Jade grabbed my hand and begged me not to go into the basement. I ignored her. I went downstairs. It was even colder down there. It smelled horrible. I thought it was backed up sewage. I used my phone flashlight to scan the room. I thought I saw something move near some boxes. I figured it was just shadows. I started walking toward the boxes. Then I clearly saw a shadow get up from behind the boxes and run to the other side of the room. I felt the wind hit my face as he rushed by me. I ran toward the stairs. I announced that I was leaving and that I was sorry for intruding. Just before turning and running up, I heard a whisper from the basement say, "Don't leave just yet." I paused for a second, then freaked out and ran. Jade was still standing at the top of the stairs. She heard the whisper too. We ran out of the house, got in the car, and drove away. I told them what happened. Riley called the director the next day and made up an excuse. They couldn't film there. The owner just left and thanked Riley for his consideration. I don't know that I fully believe the house is haunted. But something is for sure not right in that house. And I'll be happy never going back. Some people in this world are just messed up. I never realized just how crazy some people can be until one night I had a horrifying encounter I will never forget. One of my best friends was getting married, and his best man paid for all of us groomsmen to travel to Cape Cod. Usually I'd be annoyed to spend money on a bachelor party, but I wasn't going to complain about a free trip with my boys. The trip was 3 overnights, excessive in my opinion, but it was still cool. We spent days on the beach and nights drinking at bars. It was a perfect trip. We especially liked this one bar right on the water. The first night out, I met a girl named Brittany. She was a local, and we hit it off right away. The next day, we were texting the whole time. That night, my friends wanted to find a different bar, but I decided to stay at the same one to hang out with Brittany. We spent a couple of hours at the bar, having drinks, talking, and getting to know each other. Once we were feeling good, she asked if I wanted to go for a walk on the beach. I thought this would be a great way for us to get some alone time. Without hesitation, I was ready. We walked for a while along what I assumed was a private beach. There were houses that backed up against the beach. Brittany said we were okay walking here. We eventually walked far enough that there were no more houses. We were traversing rocks. It was so dark it was hard to see where we were going. I didn't care about any of that. What I cared about was that we finally seemed completely alone. I was mentally preparing to make a move when I noticed Brittany making a weird face. She was looking off into the distance. I asked what she was looking at. She pointed at a rock cluster about 20 feet away. With a confused voice, she asked if I could see that guy standing over there. I squinted, trying to focus my eyes in the dark. I didn't see anything. She doubled down, pointing even harder. She was almost annoyed I couldn't see it. I finally saw what I thought she was talking about. I told her it was just a rock. But she couldn't let it go. She said she was going to move closer to prove it was a person. As I was telling her it was clearly a rock, I saw the figure move. I stopped her and admitted she might be right. We were only about 10 feet away now. I could clearly see it was a person. He looked like he was kneeling on a rock, wearing a worn-out maroon hat. I felt like an idiot I couldn't tell earlier. I quietly leaned over to Brittany and told her we should probably leave, just in case. She agreed. We quietly retreated off the rocks and started heading back the way we came. After a few minutes of walking, I noticed the man was following us. He was a good distance behind, but it was him for sure. We could see the same maroon hat. Brittany looked nervous. I tried to tell her it was nothing to worry about. He was probably just walking in the same direction. She didn't agree. She said random guys don't just walk on this specific part of the beach at this hour. I thought she was overreacting until I looked back again. Now the guy was moving toward us with more zip in his step. Brittany started to freak out. I suggested we run. She agreed. We were moving fast. When I turned around, the man was sprinting after us. There was no denying it anymore. We eventually got to the part of the beach where the houses were. I grabbed Brittany's hand and told her to trust me. We ran to a backyard, jumped the fence, and got on the ground under a Jeep in the driveway. Brittany held her hand over her mouth. I was trying to keep my composure, but I was freaking out inside. We were under the Jeep when I saw the man walk down the driveway. I could see his feet. They were bloody and dirty, just a foot or two away from my head. The scariest part was he wasn't running anymore. It was like he knew we were hiding. The strangest thing was the noise he was making. A clicking sound with his tongue. While he walked by, I noticed he was carrying something shiny. It was swinging at his side. I swear, it was a machete. Or a very large knife. He finally passed the Jeep. I could see him slowly walking down the street. When he was several houses down, I gestured to Brittany to shimmy out from under the Jeep. We quietly headed back to the beach. Then we sprinted all the way back to where we started. Every minute I looked back, expecting to see the maroon hat running after us. But he never came back. When we got back to the bar, we were both still on edge. We called an Uber and went back to the Airbnb. That was the first time I'd ever had an encounter like that. I hope it's the last. I'm lucky to have left physically unharmed. Wherever that man is today, I hope he's not still terrorizing people on the beach. 3 stories. 3 encounters. 3 times I came face to face with something I still can't explain. A stranger who appeared at my party and vanished into the night. A house that seemed to breathe and whisper. A man on a beach with a maroon hat and a machete. I don't know if they're connected. I don't know if they're random. I just know they've changed me. The party guest still haunts me. Not because he was violent. Not because he threatened me. Because he was so empty. No expression. No emotion. Just a blank face and a humming sound. And that knife. He took 1 knife from my dad's set. Just 1. Why? What did he want with it? Why not take the whole set? I still don't understand. I've replayed that night 1,000 times. The way he stood over me while I pretended to sleep. The way he breathed. The way he just stood there for 5 minutes, doing nothing. He could have hurt me. He could have hurt anyone. He didn't. He just took a knife and left. Like he was collecting something. Like he was marking something. And then there's the house. The house Riley found for the movie. The house with the locked door that opened on its own. The house with the shadow that moved faster than any human should. The house that whispered to me, "Don't leave just yet." Those words still echo in my head. Who said that? What was it? Was it even human? Jade heard it too. I wasn't imagining it. She was just as terrified as I was. She grabbed my hand and begged me not to go into the basement. And when that shadow rushed past me, I felt the wind on my face. I felt something move through the air. Something real. Something alive. Something that didn't want me to leave. And the beach. The maroon hat. The clicking sound. The machete swinging at his side. Brittany saw him first. She knew something was wrong before I did. She had that instinct. That gut feeling that something wasn't right. And it saved us. We ran. We hid. We survived. Because we listened to that voice. I think about what would have happened if we hadn't hidden under that Jeep. If we had kept running. If he had caught us. He wasn't just walking. He was hunting. That clicking sound wasn't random. It was like he was calling out. Like he was tracking us. Like he knew exactly where we were. 3 stories. 3 different places. 3 different kinds of fear. The intruder who was too quiet. The shadow that was too fast. The hunter who was too patient. Each one left a mark on me. Each one made me realize that the world is not as safe as I thought it was. That danger can come from anywhere. I used to think I was invincible. I was young. I was carefree. Nothing bad could happen to me. That was the lie we all tell ourselves. That bad things only happen to other people. That we're too smart, too careful, too lucky. But I wasn't smart. I wasn't careful. I was just lucky. The party guest could have been anyone. He walked into my house and no one questioned him. He wandered through my home while we all slept. He could have done anything. He chose to take a knife. Why? I don't know. I'll never know. And that uncertainty is worse than any answer could be. The shadow in the basement could have been anything. A homeless person. A squatter. A ghost. A demon. I don't know. I'll never know. And the whisper still follows me. Don't leave just yet. Sometimes I hear it in my sleep. Sometimes I hear it when I'm awake. A reminder that some doors should never be opened. The man on the beach could have been anyone. A drifter. A local. A killer. I don't know. I'll never know. But I remember his feet, bloody and dirty, walking past my head. And that machete, swinging at his side. He wasn't just walking. He was hunting. And we were the prey. I don't tell these stories to scare people. I tell them because they need to be told. Because something happened in each of those moments. Something that defies explanation. Something that makes me question everything I thought I knew about the world. There are things out there we don't understand. Things that don't follow the rules. I've changed. I'm more cautious now. I check my doors at night. I look over my shoulder. I trust my gut. I don't ignore that voice that says something isn't right. Because I've learned that ignoring that voice can cost you everything. I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky to be able to tell these stories. 3 stories. 3 encounters. 3 moments that changed my life forever. The silent guest. The haunted house. The man in the maroon hat. I don't know if they're connected. I don't know if they're random. I just know that they happened. And I know that I'll carry them with me for the rest of my life. Because some things, once seen, can never be unseen. And some fears, once felt, can never be forgotten.